Welcome to episode 26 of Real Talk with a Vulnerable Angel and Friends. I am your host, the Vulnerable Angel, Dominica May. And tonight I'm joined by a couple of guests, my usual guests, Mike and Sharad. Welcome, guys. Guys, it's episode 26. That means that we've been doing this weekly for 6 months. 6 months we've been doing this. And right now, Mike looks a little bit like an ape.
I'm eating apple slices right now, so I go.
I see, that's what that is.
Yeah. Hi, internet.
Welcome, guys. If this is your first time watching one of our episodes, what we do here is we just like to have deep, vulnerable conversations about topics that people tend not to talk about, especially not publicly. And yeah, talk about like our kind of personal experiences with things. And tonight's topic is attachment versus connection, suggested to me by ChatGPT, because that's where I go for all of my questions and topics now to help you brainstorm. And yeah, so we've got 5 questions from ChatGPT, but I thought I also asked ChatGPT to give me brief descriptions about the different attachment styles if you are not familiar with them. I know I've talked about them like briefly in other streams and things like that, but you know, nobody's watching every single episode of this. I don't even remember which episodes I talked about in the past, and I don't think I give it like a full rundown with descriptions and stuff. So I'm going to bring up those descriptions to start with. So there are 3 insecure attachment styles, and then there's just a secure attachment. So the first insecure attachment style is anxious. And ChatGPT says that the anxious attachment style craves closeness but fears abandonment, often worries about being too much or not enough, and may seek constant reassurance to feel secure. I used to feel like I was an anxious attachment style because I kind of fell into that kind of style in certain relationships. But then the next insecure attachment style is dismissive avoidant, which values independence over intimacy and pulls away when things get too close and may downplay needs to avoid vulnerability or perceived loss of control. And I've also behaved like this in other types of relationships. So I'm like, what's up with me? My attachment style changes depending on who I'm with and what they're like. Which brings me to the third insecure attachment style, which is what I probably actually am or have been predominantly in my life, which is the fearful avoidant attachment style, which is also known as disorganized attachment. And they want connection but fear it. They swing between craving intimacy and pushing it away, often due to unresolved trauma or fear of rejection. That's definitely a lot more accurate for me in my history. And then, of course, the secure attachment style, where you don't have any of this fear and stuff impacting your relationships. And that's so secure attachments feel safe with intimacy and independence, communicates needs directly, and trusts others to meet them without anxiety or avoidance. So that's like the ideal to try and work towards, I suppose. But it's challenging if you've had the other kinds of insecure attachment styles in your history. Is this how do you feel about all of this attachment theory stuff, guys?
Good.
Good. What would you say would be, before I bring up the ChatGPT questions, the most like from your history, which attachment style would you relate to the most? Oh my goodness, Sharad, I can't hear you. We could hear him before we went live before. Like
No,
before
we
we
still
went live.
can't hear you.
No.
I think he suffers from detachment
Right. Yeah.
right now. That's where he connects to the most.
Hearing a big buzz
might
though.
have you. Speak, doggy, speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Yes. Apologies all. I think we've already established that out of the three of us, I am not exactly what you might call the techno king. Yeah. So there was one that you mentioned earlier about a fear of what was it, of abandonment or a fear of messing things up. Could you bring them up again? Sorry.
Yeah. So that sounds like the anxious attachment style.
That's the one.
Yeah. So you crave closeness, but fear abandonment. Often worries about being too much or not enough.
Yeah.
So that was one that you feel closest to.
Yes, more so. I think for me, more recently, not just during COVID, but before that. Obviously, when I fell ill at the time, I couldn't really leave my house aside to go to the hospital and back again. So all I had was either my phone or the computer, pretty much. And I realized that when I was speaking with some of my friends, I became too much in the sense that I'd always be messaging them nonstop. It didn't matter whether they were in my city or in a different country. And if, let's say, they replied me back with a one sentence kind of thing, I would reply back with an essay. And I had no idea that I think because I was in my own bubble and just wanted to get everything out. I didn't realize that basically they were giving 10 and I was giving 90. Way too much. Right?
Yeah.
And this isn't on them. It was because of, and I'm sure this happens to both of you, as all of you've experienced it, where you don't really know that you're crossing a boundary.
Yeah.
And it sucks because when someone tells you, you're like,
it kind of is on the other person to express their boundaries so you're not like that too much.
But at the same time, and this has happened to me, a good friend of mine, she actually replied back in an email. She and I were pen pals, and that she said that she wasn't comfortable with me, not our emails per se, but that I kept sending frequent messages and memes and what have you. And she was like, "This is a bit too much." And to my mind, I had no idea that I even crossed the boundary. So as soon as it hit me, I was like, I just second guessing everything that I was doing. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. And then you kind of want to switch to the exact opposite where you're kind of scared to kind of even mention, like just pop up.
Yeah, I've been there before. I think that's why I'm more of the fearful, avoidant, and disorganized attachment styles, because I've fluctuated back and forth between them because of situations like that, like finding out, oh no, I'm too much, so I'm going to go back in the opposite direction so that I'm not like that, but then you're like too distant.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
Can you bring up the other two?
Yeah, sure. The dismissive avoidant, which is someone who values their independence over intimacy, so they kind of pull away when a relationship gets too close. Like if there is or a relationship is starting to get to the next stage of commitment or whatever, that tends to be the time that the dismissive or avoidant pulls away and backs off the relationship.
And what was the other one?
And then the fearful avoidant is like a cross between the other two. So you can kind of swing back and forth depending on, what's bothering you at the time. Is it?
This one resonates with me more.
Yeah.
There has been the vast majority of my dating life. I liked the person. No relationship is 100% perfect. I mean, it is with my wife, but before I met her,
of course,
before you find the one. It's never perfect. So you resign yourself to thinking, well, this is probably the best it's going to be. So I'll just have to kind of put up with the other person's bullshit, right? Not that it's bullshit, but use that as a filler, as a placeholder for whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to put up with their bullshit, thinking, well, I mean, they're nice, they're lovely. I like this person for a reason. I'm with this person for a reason. But then there's a lot of other stuff that you look at and you go, I don't know. And for me, at least, the more people I dated, the more I found myself conflicted with this very thing of it's not that I feared the connection, because here the definition is wants connection but fears it, swings between craving intimacy and pushing it away. We all want that, right? But when you're with the wrong person, you can't always put your finger on what it is, why they're the wrong person for you. You feel it internally. Let me focus on this last part. Often due to unresolved trauma or fear of rejection. For me, it was neither one of those. It wasn't about unresolved trauma. It wasn't about a fear of rejection, but it was this inner feeling of I can't identify it, even though there are things in the relationship that aren't going to work, that don't work, and will never work.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have those in every relationship, every single one. So it's not about looking for something wrong with the other person, although people definitely do that.
Yeah.
For me, I just didn't feel like this was my person. And again, it's an unquantifiable thing. And it sounds very nebulous to say, and oh, well, that's an easy thing to say when you don't have to exactly say what it is. I get it. But I struggled so hard. There were certain people that I thought, I'm supposed to be with this person because we have blank, 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 and blank in common, right? We work on all of these levels. Why am I not? I can't emotionally get myself invested. And so there was this whole running, kind of a running joke almost. It got to the point, it was kind of a running joke in my family. I couldn't date anyone longer than 3 months. I couldn't hold down a relationship because I was the one who would break it off. The first month number 1, it's all sunshine and roses. You don't see anything wrong with them. And then month number 2, it goes, it's good. There's something off. And then in the 3rd month, it's just, oh man, this is not, I don't think I can do this anymore. And it happened over, rinse, dry, repeat, over and over and over again. So I think for me, it was the fear of not being with the right person, or maybe it was the fear of knowing I was in the wrong relationship.
Yeah.
And so I avoided it. I found ways to put enmity between us. And I don't know, right or wrong, good or bad, it was what it was. I found my person, and now I get to eat Cheetos.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the 3-month marker. I watch a lot of videos by other people talking about attachment styles, and one of the things that comes up a lot is about the dismissive avoidant types. Their relationships usually end between the 4 and 6 month mark, because that's usually the point where you have to decide whether you're going to commit or not. And they're like, no, commitment too much. Pull away. But it sounds like it wasn't so much of the commitment aspect as it was that this person doesn't feel right.
I felt like it might have had something to do with the commitment, because it was 3 months. It was I only had one relationship that went longer than 3 months. It went for a year. And that was quite a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It was also one of my earliest relationships. Everyone after that, nothing lasted more than 3 months. Nothing. So I thought it
Wow.
was a
Yeah.
bad commitment thing, but just turns out I was with the wrong person.
Whereas I'm more like I can last longer than that, but I think my reasons for pulling out like around that, because it was
I'm
around
sorry,
the
hold on.
Yeah.
We have to stop on your verbiage.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Wait, what did I
I
say?
can last longer than that. I ended up pulling out.
Oh my
You beat me
goodness!
to it. You beat me to it.
I unintentionally make innuendo. That's hilarious.
What's on your mind, Angel?
Look, I messaged someone earlier today that I just really want to get laid right now, but that's besides the point. So I'm not like I'm still at the point where I don't want to sleep with someone without the whole relationship aspect thing, and I want the something serious. So I'm not going to go out and like sleep with somebody just because I'm craving something like that,
Sure.
So anyway, moving on. So yeah, my last relationship ended around the 4-month mark because and it was me being like, I want commitment, and I tried to bring up the topic and it didn't go well, so I'm like, "Wah!" And so it was unintentionally ended. We probably could have continued if I wasn't so hung up on wanting a further commitment thing and not knowing how to kind of approach that topic. But who knows? Right. We have a new guest, guys.
Oh, what up?
Do you want a Cheeto?
Room.
All right.
Hey, Papi.
Papi Zak.
So, Mike, you finally get to see Papi Zak's face, because the last time, Zak, you tuned in just from voice only.
Yeah, you were driving, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome
How's
back
things,
to the
everybody?
show.
Good. How you doing?
Zak has just been
Alright.
touring Australia doing stand-up.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Melbourne International Comedy Festival and the Sydney Comedy Festival. How was it, Zak? Do you want to share a little bit before we get back to the topic at hand?
No, you guys don't want to waste that on me. I mean,
It's
It
business,
is what it
see?
is.
Business, man.
Just go follow Zak on Instagram if you want to see what that was all about, right? We can do that now. Yeah.
Even that, I'm still like catching up on my like social media game. Some back videos I have to post up.
Yeah, so that's a good time for people to go and follow you on social media, because then they will get to see as they're coming. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So Zak, since you've just joined us, the topic that we're discussing today is attachment versus connection. We just went through kind of the different attachment styles from like attachment theory and psychology.
As you would.
Yeah. Do you want me to bring up the kind of
Go for it.
different styles again? So we can just so Zak can give us a bit of a see what he identifies with. I have a feeling Zak might be a little bit more secure, but we'll see. So there are 3
Zak's
insecurities.
eyebrows right now are telling all of us, what the fuck did I watch?
Yeah.
This is Zak's
Friday, guys. I mean, can we do a lighter topic?
This isn't where I parked my car.
Zak, this is not my Lego stream where we have light topics. This is my real talk stream where we discuss heavy things about personal topics.
Right.
Look, I can move on with the actual questions that we have.
You know what? Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, kick us off.
Let me scroll down. Shit.
Oh.
What did you do?
What did you do?
I do this is like I tried to scroll in the captions. Screws up. Anyway, your first question. How do you know when you're attached to someone versus genuinely connected?
When the other person likes you back.
For me, I think it's whether or not I'm afraid if they'll disappear. If I'm afraid they'll disappear, then I'm attached. I'm genuinely connected if I'm feeling more secure in that they're not going to disappear. I think that's the big part for me. Am I feeling anxiety
Who are
or
you?
not?
Who are you?
Whoa.
I don't know. I think for me, it's whenever you think you're attached, there's a lot of anxiety there, and there's a lot of second guessing when you're genuinely connected. Whether it's in a relationship or even it's a platonic friendship, there's just excitement and there's contentment.
Yeah.
So it's a very fine balance between those two.
Yeah, I feel like genuine connection is where you're not afraid to be yourself. You can say whatever the fuck you want, and you're not worried that somebody's going to disappear because you've said the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
There's this whole thing in relationships of the person who loves less has all the control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Interesting. Ooh.
So it's true though.
Yeah.
You know, so if you do notice that there is a party in your relationship that loves less, then that means you are the one who's attached.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
Okay.
if you have the wherewithal to see that or to ask yourself those questions, then I feel like that gives you a little bit more control in how you're going to proceed in a way that doesn't feel too thirsty.
Question: how do you differentiate attachment to excitement?
Do you feel
Longevity.
scared when you're excited about someone? Do you feel scared that you're going to lose them?
Well, I mean, it depends on what situation. There you go. He's called it. No, but like, yeah, I mean, like,
one looks like this,
and
the other one looks like this.
Why is yours droopy? Now put it in your mouth. There you go. No, like, I think it's difficult because, like, when you're interested in someone, there's and you have that connection, the butterflies never go away. You know what I mean? And yeah, obviously there is fear. I think having fear in any relationship is not only necessary but healthy.
Mm.
You know, if you don't have that, you're being, I think you're sitting back and you're kind of like going through the motions of anything else.
Right, you're the one, like Mike said, who has the power in the relationship because, yeah, you don't care as much.
Well, it's not so much the power; it's just that you're not invested. If let's say if someone goes, oh, if the other person goes, oh, I think we should break up, cool, and then the next day, hey, I think we kind of rushed that. Can we get back together? Cool.
That's me.
Yeah.
Can we get back together?
Yeah. Cool.
How about you, Jack?
Wow. He's I guess. Hello.
Yeah.
You're here.
Okay. Attachment is like, you know, when you put the, you know, it's that Velcro stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Connection is when intercourse happens.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's it. I mean,
I think intercourse could happen even when you're just attached without a connection. I wouldn't put up against that. Yeah, for sure.
Nothing wrong with that.
But
then you don't get that warm, you know.
Oh, sure. It's better when you have the connection, but you can still have attachment and yeah. I mean, the craving might be slightly different.
It's better to feel something than nothing at all.
Yeah. I think, I mean, in my best relationships, I would say I've had a mix of both attachment and connection. And it's just like that's why it's like a question of how do you separate them? Like what part is the attachment and what part is the genuine connection for me?
Right.
Well, say, don't you need a connection for the intercourse to happen?
Not always.
Since
No.
when? There's so many dudes
Well,
that
you
will
need
sleep
an
with anyone without a
attraction.
connection.
No,
Yeah, you get an attraction. Yeah, there's an attraction. Yeah, but not necessarily a connection.
See, so but there is that moment where you do connect.
I guess it depends on how you define connection. How would you define connection in this kind of example?
Like
Zach?
if you want good sex, like it's you have to have connection.
True.
Yeah, you can't have
But
attachment.
is it like
That's when
chemistry,
you're like
connection?
I mean, that's when girls will be like, that guy ain't shit.
Define good sex.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's when you get that warm, gooey feeling. That you guys
You're describing semen.
understanding. There's the understanding of the motion in the ocean.
But
Yeah.
can you not also have like great sex without the emotional component?
But
Yes,
I'm
I feel-
devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I have, but it's still better with the emotional connection for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm having sex with these Cheetos right now.
Very nice.
Well, it just busted
Connection.
a nut in my mouth.
Make sure you swallow. Good boy.
Oh,
So we're all seeing connection as being that emotional intimacy
Yeah.
part and not just like, chemistry. Because some people do, I think, see connection as just that chemical kind of connection with somebody that doesn't necessarily mean there's an emotional bond there as well.
yeah.
Well, I think
it's like you don't have to force things, Like when you put Velcro on, you gotta put it on because it's the only way. And then at the end of the day, you're just gonna pull it apart anyway because you like that sensation of going.
That sounds so
Like that.
much like a condom.
We'll rip it off.
You do those things with condoms too.
When do you put Velcro on condoms?
No, I'm not. I'm saying like when you're putting something on, you're saying that put the Velcro on, you're putting the condom on, and then you have to take it off again.
How do you think the condom sticks to the penis?
I'm not
Velcro.
saying right.
Thank
That's how it works. we're
Science
teaching the younger
bitches.
generation, right?
That's why pubic hair is so important.
And you can't use protection without pubic hair, and that's why children don't have it. Oh my god!
Let's just go with
Said it.
I'm not like okay. Let's because you're not supposed to. Anyway, I'm
Moving on.
moving
Yeah.
on.
Next question.
Next question.
Good thing that we don't have one right now. Stupid bullshit. Hang on. Yeah. I'm adjust this up, right?
You guys, I'm gonna feel like shit tomorrow. This is a brand new bag, and I'm already at the bottom.
Good man.
Big bag.
That's too much. Too much for your body. All right. What does a healthy connection feel like in your body? I think Zach touched on this a little bit in the last question.
I mean, this hasn't nothing to do with anything, but going on your Cheetos, like being in Australia, it was the first time that I experienced something that was like gluten free and like that option, and they do ask you, they grill you about it. I'm like, I just want my chicken parmesan, just like the normal kind. Why you got to complicate it? Yeah.
Whoa. So my wife is gluten-free, and I have figured out how to make. In fact, speaking of,
That's why you have those gluten-free
these
pretzels.
are so fucking good. They're even better than regular pretzels. But cooking gluten-free, so good. In some ways, it's actually more delicious. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some ways, it's disgusting.
And that's why we're discussing healthy connection, because gluten-free is the healthy option for people who can't eat gluten.
True.
I'm not just bringing it back to the topic, finding a way to tie it all together.
Yeah, all your eggs were like free range and like, not caged. I say, give me some beaten or abused chickens. Give me some depressed chickens.
That's the standard thing.
Healthy connection feel like it doesn't feel like it's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safe, relaxing. For me, I think it feels like home. That's the best way to describe it for me. Like, this is the place that I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
I think for me, it would be like judgment-free.
Mm.
That would be a good one.
You guys have already said all my adjectives: safe, judgment-free, comfortable.
Comfortable.
Like it's not work.
Yeah. Like you can sit in silence with the person and not feel like you have to fill that silence with anything.
Like
I think yeah, go on.
Like there's not a second set of eyes watching you at all times.
Yeah, just to go on that, like there's no double guessing going on. Like like premeditating every single thing you say that you do. It all comes naturally.
Yeah.
Trust.
God, that judgment piece is so much about why I did not have a healthy connection with my ex-husband because I constantly felt like he was going to judge me for the things that I felt or wanted to talk about or whatever. And that feeling is like I'm walking on eggshells. So the absence of walking on eggshells feeling is
so very recently to that point. The opposite side of that, I did something that I thought was really dumb pretty recently, and I was scared. Like I knew I had to come home and tell my wife about it, but there was that fear of, like, I know you don't judge me. I know you love me. I know you are my support, and my confidence. But also, I'm kind of scared to tell you about this really dumb thing that I perceivably did. And I came home and told her, and she goes, "Good for you. I'm very proud of you." And I was like, "Hang on, what?"
Yeah.
Because I feel really dumb about this. She's like, "No, like I'm not going to go into details, but like, she told me she was proud of me, and I was like, huh, you're proud
That's
of
dope.
me even when I'm not proud of myself." So I feel like that is, I feel like that level of person, whoever accepts you in that way, that's who you're supposed to be with.
Yeah, even for those things that you're afraid to bring up. Yeah, I've definitely had those experiences. Even when it felt like a healthy connection, I was afraid to bring up stuff because of like my past trauma. So even when I'm like, I know this person is safe and I don't think they will judge me, but like I'm still scared, so I don't want to bring it up because of my history with other people judging me for various things that I might want to say. So yeah, there can be that side of thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a healthy connection when you feel like that, but yeah, it's a question of is this coming up because of my past trauma, or is it because this person is not safe? All right.
Next question.
Next question. If I can scroll down the thing. Oh, that's how I can do it. If I
Change the screen.
no. I accidentally clicked the edit thing, so it actually pulled up all the other questions. Great. Have you ever mistaken intensity for intimacy?
Huh?
Have you ever
No,
mistaken
but I was with
intensity?
someone who did.
Okay.
It was right around the time that my dad died. I was dating this woman. There was an intensity between the two of us, and it was one of those relationships that you know that you're in for the intensity of it. Like, you don't see it lasting very long, but it's kind of fun while it lasts. It's like one of those weird, fucked up kind of things. So, my dad ended up dying from cancer, and a few days before he died, I made the decision to hop on the train, go down to Washington, D.C., because I live in New York. Go down to D.C., be in the hospital with him, because we didn't know if this was like the time or whatever. So he died on a Saturday, and I think it was on a Monday. That's when I called this woman and I said, look, my whole world has just been upended. I don't think that it's right for us to continue on with this relationship. And she clung so hard. She, I grew up Mormon, and at the time, like, Mormonism was still fairly important to me. And she's a hardcore atheist. And she goes, "I'll convert to Mormonism."
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no, no, that's not what this is about. It's not about like this religious component that, like, at the time, that was a huge component of my life. But also, if you're gonna, if you say that you're gonna, convert to Mormonism, you're clearly doing it for me, because you were mistaking this intensity, this whatever relationship that this was, that was based on nothing for the most part. You think we have a genuine connection? You yelled at me for voting for the wrong Democrat. I voted Democrat, but my vote wasn't good enough for you. You said I needed to vote this way. What? What are we fighting for? We're playing for the same team. Yeah. So
That's crazy.
She definitely mistook intensity for intimacy.
I have definitely done this. I've definitely mistaken intensity for intimacy, and I would say this was very much the early days of my relationship with my ex-husband, because he was very, very intense early on. That made me
Doesn't
feel.
seem like the type, though.
My ex-husband doesn't seem like the type to be intense early on.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because you didn't. I mean, how he is with all my friends is very different compared to how he is when he gets involved with a new woman. Like, it's very, very, very big contrast between those two things. Like, he was very much shied away from any of my friendships and stuff because he was worried about like how they would judge him. So that behavior itself ended up leaving a bad taste in my friend's mouth, because they're like, he's antisocial, he doesn't want to like get invested in my friendships and that sort of thing. So he's shooting himself in the foot in that kind of situation. But it very much in the early stages of any relationship he starts, and including the one that he had with me, is the love bombing kind of stuff, where just like, intense, you're amazing, like compliments, all that kind of thing, like talking about all the things that you love about the person. And then there's like mirroring of like getting invested in your interests. Like my ex-husband, he decided he was going to try and do stand-up comedy because it was something that I was into. Like I guess what? Go ahead.
No. I mean, wasn't he the one that like jumped on the stage first before you, or did you guys do it?
In Malaysia, yes, but I had started doing stand-up comedy when I was 16, and he only started doing stand-up comedy because it was something that I was into, and I had a history of liking comedians, and so he thought if he did stand-up comedy, then I would like him more.
Well, clearly it worked.
No, that wasn't why. Like he didn't start doing it. I think his first performance might have been in the Raw Comedy Competition in Australia, which is in like January, and we were already engaged by then, and almost a few months away from being married. So I guess it still took him a little while, but yeah, he had a big insecurity around the fact that I lost my virginity to a comedian, not a stand-up comedian, but a comedian all the same, improviser. And so
Robin Williams? You lost your virginity to Robin Williams?
Oh my god.
You lucky girl. You lucky girl.
Because he's the only improviser.
I'm telling Zelda.
Is it necrophilia if you still think about him and when you
as long as you're not actually doing it.
What? Necrophilia is when you're having sex.
But he's dead, and then you're touching yourself, and then
Oh, or like Robin Williams, maybe. Robin Williams was alive when I lost my virginity. It wasn't him. Anyway,
I know that's how you lost your virginity. It was to him.
You lost your virginity to Will Ferrell?
Oh my god, I could never.
He was not fuck I ever had.
He was not a famous person. Anyway, regardless, like
smelly pirate whore.
That intensity that I felt in that early stages of that relationship, because of the love bombing, because of the how much he made it seem like he was really into me, that made me feel like intimate, and like he shared like I guess some personal things that made me feel closer to him, but it was definitely more of the intensity side of things rather than true intimacy, I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
I probably actually I have another a guy that I had a fling with, another fucking improviser, a number of years ago. This is my history. I'm sorry.
Maybe break the formula.
I need to start dating people who are not
try
in comedy
something new,
some
like a
way.
barista.
Can't you just date a boring person for a change?
I should. Look. No, I mean everyone that I've been. No, the majority of my ex-partners have been like the most significant ones have been either writers or comedians in some fashion. But like I've gone on dates with people who aren't, but they don't go past like the first date. I mean, it was boring to me.
She said all this, but then she ended up marrying a non-comedian.
Well, he was an actor though. Like my ex-husband was someone
he acted like an asshole.
True.
That's funny.
But no, I mean, I think our first date, I went out to see him act in a community play. So, there's all this performance side of things. I'm like attracted to people who can be a creative in some kind of way. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lost where I was going with that. Yes, no, when I have dated people who aren't, that way inclined, funny people, performers and stuff, it just I don't know, it fizzles out. It doesn't last. And maybe I just don't know how to connect with people like that.
Question actually, guys. Now that you mentioned fizzling out, have you guys ever had this thing where you feel a relationship about to fizzle out? How do you reignite that spark?
Do you have to? Why you just end it?
Well, I mean, if it's worth fighting for.
Based on the story that you shared last week, right? That was if you don't mind my gross retelling of it.
Please.
You and another lady were in like a really strong, seemingly healthy relationship that just there wasn't enough care put into the relationship because it seemed like, hey, everything's fine. And then without checking in with each other, it just like you kind of start being you and she kind of starts being her. And it just kind of slowly fizzles out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But then years later, you reconnected with this woman, come to find out that, no, granted, she was in another relationship at the time, but there was this question of, could it have worked? Could, like, it still seemed like there was desire from both parties to make it work, in hindsight.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
I think I mean, it's like what you said. If there's still interest in both parties, then there is a way to salvage it. But when one party's just checked out, I don't think. Like when I was in this relationship, I thought she checked out because she actually said, I don't feel as strong about you as I used to. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. She was a bitch.
Fuck that girl, yeah.
She was an influencer. I'm like,
oh. Oh, okay. She cares more about that than
for me, it wasn't what she said that got to me. It was the timing that she said it. Like, I was leaving to like shoot for at another country. Like, I was on the way to the airport, and as I was leaving, I give, I say, okay, I'll see you, love you, bye bye. And she's like, can I say something? And then I was like, okay, whatever. And then she said what she said. I was like, I need to go right now.
It's an awkward time for her to bring that up.
Exactly.
I feel like.
Unless if her grandmaster plan was, all right, Zach is leaving the country. He's going to be gone for a few days. I'm just going to drop this little seed, let it fester, and then when he comes home, all my shit's moved out.
Like, and I was I was expecting that to happen, but she just wanted me to, I guess, mull over what was happening, and so when I came back, I was like, okay, what's going on, and are we gonna break up? And she's like, well, if I don't feel the same way about you as I used to, and you're always doing whatever, going away, and I don't see what's the point of keep on going, And then so I was like, okay, it was heartbreaking, but when I was like, this is it, this is gonna be it, and before we parted ways, she cried, and I kind of like, the door was shutting, the door was closing, and then I caught her crying, and then I was like, it's too much. I left. Fast forward, like we had like a dinner, like caught up, and then I asked her about, like, hey, did you I apologize about how like the relationship went. I feel like I could have done so much better. I could have been more present for you, like I could have balanced work and you better. And then she's like, yeah. She's like, oh no, it's fine. Like maybe I was too much in my own thing as well. And I said, do you think we could have gotten back together like then? And she said, well, I wish you would have worked harder to like, fight for the relationship. I'm like, oh. I mean, like,
How are you supposed to make that decision though when she's saying that she's lost feelings for you? And like that kind of statement makes you think that there's not even worth trying.
yeah.
Right? To me.
But
that was
again,
her
it's
fucked up.
the communication. It's the communication that was that broke down, where both of us still had something for each other, but somehow I don't know what it was, pride, or it was just complete blindness that we didn't try.
Yeah.
So as long as that, like I say, as long as there's that feeling that you feeling left over, there's still something to work on. And if this was just an obstacle in a relationship, that this, when people say relationship or work is work.
I think sometimes in those sorts of situations, you need to spend some time apart to like really figure out what is going on for you internally to be able to come back and fight for the relationship and realize that it is something that you want. Especially when, there's that level of intense messaging from your partner, right? There's like, I've lost my feelings, or I'm not feeling as strongly for you as what I used to. I mean, that's a lot to take in and a lot to process. And then you also have to kind of sort through how much of it is their shit, how much of it is because I'm not, stepping up as well as I could be. And if I am part of the problem, what could I be doing to make things better? Or do I care enough to put in that effort?
I mean, to that end, relationships require both parties to recognize their own selfishness and to be respectful to the other person. And we've started becoming a society of people on this planet, thanks to social media, where we demand respect, but it's not. We feel like respect is required without having to show respect for anyone else or anything else. And we've really started getting away from that in a big, big way. And it's so fucking evident all over YouTube, all over social media, all over the news. It's reflected in our movies and television shows that we consume on a daily basis. Like, it's a really fucking cool line for Han Solo to say, I know, when the love of his life says, I love you. That's a really fucking cool line. But it's also a reflection of like, that was a level of disrespect.
Yeah.
That was a huge level of disrespect on Han Solo's part. But we look at that, we celebrate stuff like that in our society. I mean, like there's T-shirts now being made that say "I love you," like
seen
the
them,
wife's shirt will say "I love you," and the husband's shirt says "I know," and it's a really cool reference and it's a really cool catchphrase, blah blah blah, whatever. But we celebrate these levels of disrespect because they're sensationalized and they're cool, and there's this narrative that society is telling us we need to act like this because I'm a man. I feel like I'm a man, or I identify with XYZ, right? And so if that's how I identify, or if I'm a man, or whatever the case may be, we get sucked into that and we believe that this is how it's supposed to act. Kind of like a few weeks ago when we were talking about.
Do you want me to bring up the alpha male text again? I still have it in the chat.
Yeah, bring up the alpha male. Confident, dominant leader type, charismatic, assertive, often seen as the pack's frontman, thrives on status and control in social or professional settings. This person, even though the description might sound counterintuitive, this person is not an asshole. This person is confident. We are attracted to confident people. They're a dominant leader. That is a very attractive quality. Charismatic. We want to be around people like that, right? Someone who's assertive. That's an attractive quality that we say, oh, I want that quality in myself. It's the person who is not the alpha male, who is trying to be the alpha male. That's the asshole. And those people are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. And it's that, coming full circle, it's that level of disrespect that we treat each other with, and expect, well, you disrespected me, so I'm going to disrespect you, right?
Tit for tat. Yeah.
This is reminding me of something that actually I brought up in conversation with a friend over the weekend as well. There was a time when I was still married and my ex-husband was having trouble with opening up about his feelings with me. So he decided to do mushrooms and to help him be more open and honest with me. And while he was on mushrooms, he told me that he intentionally...
Were they portobellos?
No. They were the decriminalized in Oakland type before decriminalization.
Button. Got it.
Nice.
But no, one of the things that he said to me while he was in that hallucinating kind of state was he told me, like, literally, that he intentionally tried to emotionally harm me as payback for the times that he felt like I was doing that to him. So he thought I was intentionally trying to hurt him, where I wasn't. Like, I never intentionally try to harm anyone. That's not something that's, like, conceivable for me. I might unintentionally harm someone. Sure, that can happen, easily. But in terms of how I was with him, I never intentionally tried to harm him. And the fact that he was intentionally trying to hurt me because of his perception of how I was. It's like that payback stuff. It's like, fuck off. That's not, like, if you love someone, you shouldn't be trying to pay them back for hurting you.
No, agree. Yeah, but I think at the same time, it's almost like a form of really, really twisted self-preservation, isn't it? Like, if a mark for me is a mark for thee. So unfortunately, that's just how some people are built.
I've never heard that before. A mark for me is a mark for thee.
You're welcome. What are your experiences with that, Zach? Have you ever felt that before yourself?
Nah.
No. Just you, bro.
I think that's actually a good example of attachment versus connection, though, because if you're connected to someone, why would you intentionally try to harm them? Whereas if you're attached to somebody, you might, because that's your way of trying to keep them in your sphere.
It's motivated out of fear.
Yeah.
You're attached to them. You are afraid they love less, which means they have control. So you attack first. You strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah.
So that you don't get hurt first, when it turns out it was just miscommunication.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it always is. Yeah.
There's so many breakdowns in relationships because of assumptions that you make about the other person. about their motivations. Like, I think that was the biggest thing that I learned in my last relationship is stop making fucking assumptions. And if you are making one, ask for clarity about the assumption that you're making in a way that is not going to put them on the defensive.
Yeah.
Find out what their triggers are so that you can approach the situation in a way that is not going to set off one of those triggers.
But also doesn't cause you to walk on eggshells to
Well,
avoid them. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's the balance of that. Because that was the thing, like in my last relationship, I was like, I was so afraid of triggering him that I was walking on eggshells because I knew what some of his triggers were. I'm like, where am I going to?
Well, that also requires a lot of really hard, difficult conversations that is not going to be solved over the course of a weekend.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. And, I've already shared the story that there were things like internal issues that I was having that I was projecting or that I was physically or emotionally manifesting on the outside that Kim was picking up on. And she thought that it was something that she was doing that was causing that emotional reaction in me. But it turns out I was having dark thoughts. Right. And so it took a long, long time for us to develop a shorthand. And I think I shared with you guys before, like we have a code word. I'm not going to share what that code word is, but all I have to do or all she has to do is we just have to say the code word to each other. And instantaneously we know your brain is trying to kill you. Your emotions, your chemical imbalances are getting the better of you, or there's something happening that is not fixable, and it's buy the ticket, ride the ride. You just have to feel the feels, and it's going to take time for it to process. It has nothing to do with the other person, but those kinds of conversations take time to develop and genuine care and understanding.
Yeah.
So Sharad, you asked a very simple question and we gave you a 3-hour answer.
Fantastic. Love it.
It all matters. Are we ready to move on to the next question?
Next question.
Next question.
Next question.
What has helped you move from an insecure attachment to a secure connection if you've had that experience? So ChatGPT actually made this anxious attachment. I'm like, dude, some people might not have an anxious attachment, so I'm going to change that to insecure. Mike, do you feel like you have moved into a secure connection now in your marriage, like away from that fearful avoidant attachment style that we discussed early on in the beginning?
100%. It's every cliche in the book. Kim and I were just recently at a wedding last weekend in Connecticut, and it really made me want to pull out our vows that we made to each other at our wedding. And I was reading Kim's vows to me, and she started listing all this stuff of like every cliche in the book, and like she acknowledged it in her vows of, look, I'm not going to mention every cliche in the book, like this, or like this, or
that's
like
cute.
This. Not going to mention it.
Nice little loophole.
Yeah, it was and it's so true because there like those stereotypes, those examples exist for a reason because they're real, what was the question? My brain started
right there. What helped you move from
no, but you asked me a deviating question. Oh, is that what it's like with Kim? Yeah. I felt insecure in every relationship. And if I didn't feel insecure, I felt wrong. Like I was doing it wrong, like they were doing it wrong. But with Kim, like everything, I almost broke up with her over dinner because like I didn't have the butterflies, and I was trained to think that you're supposed to have butterflies when you're in a relationship. And I thank heavens I had this clarity clarity of thought popped through my head going, nothing's wrong. Why are you going to self-sabotage this relationship? Let's just see where it goes, because nothing is wrong. Who cares if you don't feel the butterflies? Maybe they'll come later. Maybe they won't come at all. Wait to break it off until something is actually off. And that was the only time I ever really felt, I wouldn't even put it insecure about the relationship. But yeah, she makes me feel safe.
It's great. I think in relationships where I have gone from an insecure attachment style to a secure connection, the thing that has helped me move in that direction has been consistency. Does this person consistently show up for me in their own way and their own time? So it doesn't necessarily need to be consistently, or they need to message me a good morning text every single morning, and otherwise they're not consistent. Like, everyone has their own kind of style of communication, but is this person consistently showing up and showing me that they care about me over a X period of time? And that might change depending on the person and how I feel about them. Because sometimes it's easier to trust that consistency compared to others. So it just depends. But yeah, consistency is the thing that helps me move in that direction.
For sure.
What about you, Zach? Have you felt like insecure in relationships that and then moved into like secure connections? Or are you more just like secure no matter what?
I'm the kind of guy that just jumps in first and then just let everything unfold. If we can get past the 3 months or 6 month mark, and then that's when I start to get comfortable. And
yeah.
Is being comfortable a good thing or a bad thing in your eyes?
It's both. So it's good because I feel secure in the connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm comfortable, not to say I'm just gonna let things just stay status quo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable in I can be myself. I can, she knows who my gripes and my routine and stuff like that.
Cool.
So,
here's another question for you, Zach. From one comedian to another, up until the time that I met my wife, I had never prioritized a relationship above comedy. Like, comedy was always the most important thing to me. I had always been in a even like I said before, I grew up Mormon. That was a huge part of my life. After my dad died, I started rethinking my Mormonism. I still don't know where I stand on it. But even at the peak of my religious attendance, even then, God did not take priority over comedy. It always went comedy, probably God, then relationships, or sometimes I would switch relationships with God a little bit. But comedy was always number one. And it wasn't until I met my wife or started dating my wife, that's when I knew she was the one, because I wasn't prioritizing comedy anymore. I was prioritizing her. I guess this is really a question for the group, but is there anyone here who has been with someone where you prioritize that person over your own passions?
Yeah, my last relationship for sure. But I mean, that was partly because we're passionate about the same thing, so it was fine anyway. But yeah, I was absolutely prioritizing him over other interests. My ex-husband, I did for a while, but once I got into improv, absolutely prioritized improv over him, and much to his dismay, he hated that. I'm like, dude, just let me enjoy myself because you're not fucking entertaining me. No, I didn't say that to him, but that's totally how I felt. Yeah. But otherwise, but the thing is about that though is like he encouraged me to continue pursuing my interests, and like when I was at a point where I kind of had stopped being creative so much before he and I had gotten together, and I feel like getting back with him actually encouraged me more to create do more creative projects and getting back on stage and stuff again. So there you go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
When I was on tour, right, and like my focus was definitely the comedy, and then when I got there, it was like it was a great experience. Like they threw me like in the deep end, and I had to like adjust. I had to get out of my comfort zone, which was performing comedy to a majority Asian crowd, which to be fair in Melbourne was majority Asian crowd, but
You mean Mini Kale in Melbourne?
no, I mean it's not just mini kale. It's literally like Southeast Asia on the streets of Melbourne. You have to go out in the boondocks to.
I haven't been there since like 2010, I think. Oh no, a little bit more recently than that. But I remember when I was going there, I think in around 2009, maybe 2010, because I was there for the Melbourne Comedy Festival those years, and I'm just like. And I was living in Malaysia at the time. Like, oh my god, there's Malaysian restaurants here. Like I had never noticed them before, but at that point, I'm like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my focus was definitely comedy, like my comedy. And then every night, every comedian would go to this one place where they call it the Festival Club, where all the comedians kind of like unwind, and it's just the bar is just full of comedians, and this is what I miss mostly about Australia, like foreign countries like Australia, US, England. You guys, I mean, they're generally chatty people, right? They're not like so introvert, like not so closed off as Asians are, Yeah, they're open to having conversation with strangers, getting to know, and the amount of flirting I did, it was just so flawless. It's like, oh, you're Malaysian, and it was so easy. It was just so easy to just like, let's close this, right? But I was like, no. It's just gonna be a distraction from the comedy, right? I still have a lot to learn. So there was I mean to just address what you were saying earlier, Mike. Yeah, there was no moment that I met, like even when I met like the Australian women or like the people over there, it's just there was no moment where I was like, okay, this girl's worth like just being a distraction for a moment,
Yeah.
But
when you're on tour, how long are you gone for typically?
Sorry?
When you're on tour, how long are you gone for?
So this gig I was gone for about close to 2 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
A
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. So Melbourne, I did the whole month, and then we did some like outskirts, and then we headed to Sydney.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, having been involved with numerous comedians at this point, I'm not a lot of it, enough.
Oh shit, where you eat, Dominica?
If I'm not. Anyway, my expectation of being in a relationship with a comedian is they will prioritize their career. I would not expect them to choose to spend time with me over a gig that pays them well, right? Like they can spend time with me any other time, right? And you know, part of the comedian career is going on tour. So like as you know, my last relationship, he was a stand-up comedian, and one of the conversations we had was like, I said to him, like, if you come to the US, I would totally understand that you would go on tour sometimes without me, and I have no expectations that I would come along. And I was actually really surprised when he said that he wanted me to join him for, you know, as he toured. So I was like, oh, okay, it's a surprise kind of thing. But yeah, like you can't expect to be the number one priority when there's that work tour aspect of being a stand-up comedian. It doesn't mean that you're not a priority in their life, but it's just a more of a timing thing of, it's, you know, if you're home, then sure, you might prioritize, but if you're on tour, that stuff comes first. So I wouldn't feel offended by that, if that was the kind of
being on tour, like that's your job.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's your job at that stage. So like, why I wouldn't tell my wife that, no, I don't want you to go to work today. I want you to stay home and spend time with me, you know? Like that's your job.
Babe, Mikey wants a piece, mommy.
I guess for you, that when it's not like your full-time career, but for Zach, it is like, that is his full-time career, is doing comedy stuff and that's
Well, sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like when you go off on tour, like that's your job. So I don't feel like it's fair for anyone to interfere with your job. But like when you are home, like when you're still doing gigs at home, it doesn't even really matter where you are. There's an emotional component to prioritization. Where like, because again, emotionally, I didn't prioritize people over comedy. I prioritized comedy over relationships. And I kind of going back to what we were talking about long ago, that's where I think the communication really becomes super, super necessary. Because like, I don't know how much does either party want?
This is
very true.
Now I'm reflecting back on that last relationship again, and I told him to do comedy spots while I was visiting in Malaysia in January last year, and he actively chose not to, so he could spend more time with me.
That's what I'm talking about.
It wasn't like I encouraged him to sign up for an open mic night, and he like reluctantly did so, and then it got cancelled, and then only after that was he disappointed, because I'm like, I wanted to, and then by then he wanted to actually get up and perform, because I wanted to go. And anyway, that was an interesting experience.
Sharad, we never heard from you.
What do you guys like? What would you guys like to know?
Prioritizing a partner over like
your passion.
Your passion, yeah.
I think in some ways compromise is definitely the deal, right? I mean, if there's no such thing as every relationship has to be one way or another. It's all about going 50-50, and I do think that compromising is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you're willing to invest in another person, right? So it doesn't mean that you're sacrificing your life, your goals, your dreams. You're sharing your time. You're sharing your successes, your failures to an extent, because when you fail, you have the other person to bring you back up, right? So yeah, so in some ways, it's never a bad thing. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was distracted for a moment because Brazos, my cat, was chewing on this piece of plastic.
Oh God.
Ooh, that doesn't seem very safe.
Did
Zach,
you say your cat's name is Brazzers?
Yeah, I named it after a porn site.
Yes, yes.
No, Brazos. Named after
That's
Steve
so
Martin's character from Only Murders in the Building.
Oh. I never got into that one. Is it good?
This little guy.
Hey.
Look at him. He's so cute and fluffy.
It'd been funny if you actually did name him after a website. That'd be pretty funny.
Zach, I want to do a time check because when you messaged me about how long you could stay for, you said that you would need to leave by like 15 minutes ago. So I wanted to check in with you. Are you? Do you need to leave? Are you cool with staying a bit longer now? Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you have a question? Then we can.
I have one more question that I can
Let's do
bring
one
up,
more.
and yeah. All right. When do you feel most safe emotionally with others?
In bed.
Oh.
Interesting.
You know, there's these new.
Oh, go ahead.
There's these new what cuddle pillows that's in the shape of a guy, like a person, and then that looks comfortable to me.
Zach, can you please show me your Shopee search history? I think we should know what exactly you're doing. Not there's anything wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. For me, I think that, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, people that know the worst thing about you, and it's okay. Right? Presumably, no one's a murderer, no one's diddled any kids, but, you know, like, barring that, they know the worst part about you, and they're still a part of your life. Yeah, they're still a part of your life.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But if you stick around when you've killed someone, maybe then you should probably double check that relationship.
There's always exceptions, Sharad. There's always exceptions.
Yeah, so I think they're called accomplices. But yeah, fair enough.
I mean, there's murder, but then there's manslaughter.
Potato. Very nice. I like that.
No, like earlier when I was just kind of making that joke reference of when do you feel most safe emotionally with others? In bed. But having reflected on that over the past 5 seconds, I think there's honestly, I think there's some truth to that for me. I've said multiple times, both to my wife as well as to many other people, I don't like sleeping in a bed where Kim is not present. I really don't. Like, having her sleep next to me makes me just feel safe, makes me feel secure. Like when she's on the road, okay, you can get down now. All right. Like when she's on the road, like she was just in Chicago for a few days. She just got home yesterday. I feel like my mental health takes a plunge. Like just her presence helps me feel centered. I feel like here's this person that I constantly want to impress on a daily basis. And whether it's, you know, putting the dish in the dishwasher as opposed to putting it in the sink, like it's those little things that like, oh, I want to take a load off of her shoulders. I want to impress her with blank. So just having her around makes me feel like I'm a better person. She makes me feel more motivated. And just having that physical presence, like when do I feel most safe emotionally with others? When they're around.
Yeah. I think it's also because they're making the effort to be around you as well, isn't it? So, yeah.
when they themselves are physically and emotionally present in your life. Yeah, it's funny when you made the joke about the in bed thing, Mike. I did actually have a memory that cropped up for me for that as well, where I did feel emotionally safe in bed. I think I've talked about this maybe on the
Remind us.
but,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, let's go there. So this was also in my last relationship. As I've discussed, like we had been together previously. He ghosted me. We didn't talk for 9.5 years, and then we got back together again. And the way that kind of happened was we ended up in bed together because we both wanted it. But like after the intimacy part, and we were just like laying in bed together, I was spilling so many secrets that I totally would have worried that he was gonna judge me for and run away from. Because like I was saying stuff like, if this thing lasts, then how are we going to make things work? Because, you're a Malaysian citizen and I'm, living in the United States. So in order for us to kind of make this work long term, then we would want to live in the same country to, I would be open to marriage with you. Like basically I went that far. Like we'd just hooked up again for the first time in like 9.5 years. And I was laying all that. But I felt emotionally safe in that situation and not like scared at all.
Good.
Yes. I was Wonder Woman and he was Iron
Sure.
That was a dramatic retelling of your story.
Man. Yes. I'm not going to describe all of the physical characteristics of that moment.
Nor do you have
because
to.
they are written. No, it's in my memoir. If people want to know explicitly what happened in that, it's in my memoir. If I ever get around to publishing it, I express it in explicit detail, as Sharad could tell you since he's read it.
Superman's back armor pops up. How cool is that?
Oh, so she literally popped his back out. Good for her.
She did.
Okay. Good for her.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Good girl.
But yeah, I think with the right person, after the sexual intimacy, is probably when I feel pretty safe emotionally as well.
Would you say that a lot of women feel the same way in your experience? Because it's like every time I've spoken to a female friend, they always do mention the post in bed, the cuddling and spending time for each other. That's when they really, really kind of attach themselves with their partner.
I think it depends. For me, it depends on how already emotionally connected I am to the person. The sexual part just adds to that intensity of the emotional connection. If I don't feel already emotionally connected to the person, then it's not going to have the same impact of feeling safe. But when it is present, for sure, it's a lot easier for me to want to have sexual intimacy when I already have like emotional intimacy with the person. I'm a lot more invested, and so the sexual part just heightens that and makes me feel even more safe. I'd say that's kind of, it's like a cycle of things that all feeds into each other. But generally I need to have some level of emotional safety first, emotional connection first, and then that makes me enjoy the other stuff more. But without it, then I'm not going to feel as safe afterwards. It'll feel more like maybe I've been used if I don't have that level of safety prior to that.
Interesting.
Yeah. What I hear, I hear other people talking about is for men, it's more the reverse. Like they need to have the sexual intimacy before they can feel or like more like they're gonna emotionally open up to someone, would you? I'm curious about your kind of experience, all of your guys' experience with that sort of thing.
Anybody want to step in first?
I think it depends on the person. Actually, you know, I know people who like post coitus, they're like, you know, like, oh my god, I love you so much, you're the best. And then I know some guys who have that, you know, Velcro sex, you know, right? So it just depends on the person.
I mean, isn't there also a thing called post-nut clarity as well?
Post-nut.
Like, ooh, that was a mistake. I was just doing it because I needed to get my sexual needs
It happens. It happens.
And then, oh shit, what did I do? This person's crazy.
Yeah, post-nut.
There's something Zach said that made me think of Seth Rogen. Yeah. Where like Zach, you had said something like sometimes right after post coitus, like the guy just gets swept up in the emotion of the moment and just confesses things that aren't true, like oh I love you, oh I love you. And it made me started thinking of, you know, that seems like a very Seth Rogen kind of moment where, like, you know, he sleeps with someone, he just gets swept up in the moment, oh I love you, and now like cut to the next day where he's you know, with his buddy and he's freaking out. Oh, what did I do? I just blurted it out. I just said I loved her. I don't love her. Why would I say that? I got caught up in the moment. What do I do?
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah. Post-nut, man. Post-nut.
It's actually interesting that you should bring this stuff up, because it's reminding me of how my ex-husband first said that he loved me. And so the story, I don't know if I've talked about this on the stream before or not, but the situation was like, I had already, and this is probably the what we talked about before, mistaking intensity for intimacy, but I had been feeling like I was already in love with him at the time, but I didn't want to be the first person to say it, so I decided to show not tell, by choosing to sleep with him without protection, and
no gun.
then through that,
no gun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
no
exactly. Well, you know, it was Australia, so we didn't have that kind of protection anyway. But
Zach's just like, God, these children.
and then so after that sexual encounter, I mean, I think I chose that particular time because I thought it was safe and I wasn't going to get pregnant or something, probably anyway. But after that encounter, like immediately afterwards, was when he said that he said, "I love you," and I, as much as I wanted to hear him say that, my mind flipped out in the moment and did not want to immediately respond in kind. Even though I previously like wanted to say that's how I was feeling as
long as you didn't go, thank you.
Or I know.
Has anyone here, do you guys watch that 70s show?
Yeah, man.
I've seen some.
The episode where Donna says to Eric for the first time, "I love you." They're in the car, like make out bluff, make out point, whatever. And they're having a moment, and she turns to him and just says, "I love you," and he doesn't know what to say, so he says, "I love ham."
I love lamb.
It's so hard to be the first person to say it, though. Like, I mean, I didn't even express it in words with my last partner when we were last together, because when we been together previously, I told him that I loved him, and he didn't say it back, and I'm like, this is awkward now. Like, I'm worried like he's gonna stop wanting to sleep with me. And he's like, no, he's still happy to sleep with me, but things were just like a little bit weird after that. But I think part of it was like he didn't really know how he was feeling himself, so it made it harder for him to kind of express his own feelings, because he didn't have a lot of experience with relationships to be able to identify any of that, and like he's also a delayed emotional processor anyway. It takes him a long time to figure out how he actually feels about things. So plus there was the whole I'm leaving your fucking country and moving to another one, so
that too.
Expressing strong emotional feelings when you're about to separate for who knows how long is that's kind of
well. Also, in the English language, we don't have words to describe tears of love.
Well,
that's true.
Like admire.
Yeah, but you can't really say that after sex, can you?
I admire you.
I'm gonna like you so hard, like you have no idea. I'm gonna like you for a week you can't walk.
Yeah, I mean they call it love bombing for a reason. You don't like bomb someone. You don't admire bomb them.
Fair.
Yeah. Although that might be what you're doing when you're love bombing, is saying words of admiration.
Maybe we just crack the code.
We should.
Yeah. So now I'm curious. Have there been incidents in your own lives where you or your partner has expressed love where it hasn't been mutual or it hasn't been expressed back?
Oh, I've expressed that when I wasn't. I expressed that once when sorry, the cats are doing something. Oh, jeez.
Well, they done.
Well, she's about to push over the bookshelf.
Bitch.
Awesome. No, my first girlfriend. It was my very first relationship. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. Like, I just got scared and I panicked. She moved across the country to go to college, and as every high school relationship goes, like, hey, yeah, we're gonna stick together. We're gonna
make it work.
Yeah. And fuck, I panicked, and so I one day over the phone I said, like, I think I love you. I think I might want to marry you.
You're the one.
Yeah. And to her credit, she was a great girlfriend. Like, she's a wonderful, wonderful person. Now today, like all these years later, she's an incredible mom. We don't really keep in touch, but just like all the stuff that I see on Facebook, like, she really is an incredible person.
Good for you, man. Sounds really healthy. Good for you.
For what, breaking up with her?
No, but just being so cool with it, and like able to
like she really is. But like in that moment, I was so scared to like lose something. But like, here's the other side of the coin, is that she was my first girlfriend, so I didn't know if what I was feeling was real, if that was genuine.
How old were you at the time, Mike?
21. Yeah, 21.
And you lost your virginity later.
27.
So you haven't even slept with her, right?
27. I mean,
Wow.
Mormons, come on. Yeah. Yeah, I held out as long as I could. In fact, I actually wanted to hold out for another 3 years so I could write my own 30-year-old autobiography called The 30-Year-Old Virgin. I was gonna capitalize on the Steve Carell thing. But yeah. Yeah.
You were this close, Senor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have references about that movie in my memoir, but I won't explain why.
Because you ripped all the chest hair off your chest.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was
this isn't a good look for me. I'm telling you, man, you're putting a pussy up on a pedestal. Okay.
Yeah, no, I feel like that was one of the reasons why my ex wasn't able to express love for me, because he didn't have, like I said, yeah, I was more or less his first like more serious partner without like labels and stuff. So yeah. I think it is really hard to identify. Like, if your first partner is the one that you fall in love with, and you don't have anything to compare it with, so you don't know if what you're feeling is what you would feel with every partner that you would have in the future, versus this is very unique, and I'm not likely to experience this again or for a long time,
But at the same time, I think we all can agree that, I mean, like, there's at least I'm sure that that we know someone in our own lives, or people in our own lives, where they've only been with that one person, they struck gold immediately, lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that comes to mind was when I was in sixth form in England, in Surrey. There was this couple. She was in my year. He was the year above me. He went to university. They broke up, and they were like, okay, blah blah blah. But come university, they got back together, and they've just had their first child. So it goes to show that if everything aligns correctly, who knows? Yeah.
And you're not fucking terrified that you're gonna miss out by not trying other experiences.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
because some people are like that. It's like, oh yeah, I really love this person, but what if there's somebody else out there who's even better? Or what if I'm going to regret not experiencing other people if I stay with this one person, and only this one person for my entire
I think that's tricky. Like, one thing I've learned after I fell ill is that you it's very easy to live in a world of what ifs, right? What if
does it all the time?
Yeah, I was literally about to say, what if I was a superhero for a day? What if I woke up and I had a six-pack? Like, what if? But what's the point in, like, always having these what if scenarios in your head when you're just going to be playing them over and over, and it'll haunt you? So what's the point?
Yeah, it's been I definitely have those what if moments, but what's interesting is when you hear another person's what if thoughts after the fact, that they like years later, what things that they had. So like my ex that I've just been talking about, when we got back together, one of the things he had brought up, which I had no clue at the time that was even on something that he might have been considering, was like, he wondered if he should have married me so that I would stay. And I was like, fucking what? Like, I mean, my reaction, because I was so unprepared for it, like, I had no idea that was something that had been even on his mind, that my reaction was like, well, that wouldn't have been so easy because I would have had to get divorced first. Like, that was my reaction to it, right? It was like, whereas, like, in hindsight, a better reaction for me would have been like, wait, you thought that? Why didn't you say anything? Like, because I had marriage was not on the forefront of my mind, but I had expressed to him, like, I told him, like, I would find a way to leave my ex-husband and stay with you if you want me to. And he was like, no, you need to go off and live your life with your husband and family. And like, I'm not going to like be, what's the word? The homewrecker. I'm not going to be a homewrecker. He didn't want to be a homewrecker. So that was why he didn't bring up anything like that. But that's why it was such a surprise to me that he'd even thought about it at the time. It's like, what the now you're saying this? We wasted all these years. We could have, I mean, I'm divorced now and had been for what, 3 years by that point, by the time that we got back together.
This reminds me a lot of a set I saw of Wanda Sykes. She was like, that happens if someone stabs you and they go, ooh, does that hurt? Ooh, hurts, doesn't it? Like, ooh. It's
Has anyone here ever been the person on the side?
Yes.
Yep.
Same.
Papi?
That was one of the things that I have
You think that-
up until now avoided bringing up at all on this stream because I'm like, I'm going to save that for my memoir. But yes, I have. Actually, multiple times. But like, length of time depends on the person. But I mean, the guy that I lost my virginity to was absolutely cheating when he was my first kiss, and then when I lost my virginity to him 3.5 years later. But I wouldn't necessarily call that as the side thing because it wasn't like an ongoing kind of thing. It was like, here's the situation and we're getting into this.
Mm-hmm. I know it's really interesting because I'm just going back to my days in Savannah, Georgia. I remember there was one girl I was with, and it got really, really awkward / funny. She'd be like, "Oh, I met this guy. Like we're in bed," and she's like, "Oh, I met this guy today. I think I really like him." And I remember we just started talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, what's his name? Oh, you should go, go fight for him." And it got really, really funny because she'd be like, "Oh, I've just come back from a date," and I'm like, "Oh, fantastic." She's like, "Yeah, I'll grab like a bottle of vodka, come around to yours." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so we'd be in bed and talking about her date, and I'd just be like, "Wait." So, but to be fair, they did end up becoming a formal relationship afterwards, and thankfully our thing stopped. But I remember just being, "Wait, am I technically the side piece?" And then so that was pretty funny.
I think it's different when it's like in the early stages of dating and there's no serious commitment versus an actual serious commitment, and then you are actually the side piece. But I mean, I think you can I was polyamorous in my marriage, and I think even in those situations you could probably be considered a side piece if you're not the main person, even if that your partner's other partner also is aware of you, right? You're still not the main priority. You're still kind of a side piece, right?
I was the person that was being hidden, and I didn't know.
Yep.
I didn't know that I was being hidden.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah. So there was this girl from Salt Lake City. She came to visit a friend, and I just happened to bump into my friend in the Broadway region. We were all going to go see different shows that night. And so I bumped into my friend, and she had her friend with her, and I was like, "Ooh, who is this person?" And so she made us kind of like, "Hey, I think you two might actually work well as a couple." And I really liked her. And so whenever she came to New York, she would come stay with her friend, who was my neighbor. She wouldn't come stay with me, but she would stay with her friend, and we would get together and go on dates around New York. And then when I would go to visit her in Salt Lake City, she never let me meet any of her friends. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it because her rationale was, it was so long ago, but it was something like, this relationship is still so new. I'm not ready to share it with the world, kind of stuff like that. She would always stay with me in my hotel room. She never had me over to her place. So I never met her roommate. I never met any of her friends, all this stuff. And there were all these really weird interactions where she would drive me back to the airport. And I would say something like, my food delivery is here. No. You drive me back to the airport, and I would say stuff like, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you again. Well, what's your schedule looking like? I want to plan another trip." And she would just get really weird. I'm like, "Oh, all this stuff." And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
You had no idea. Do you feel like you would have had or felt differently about things if you'd known that you were being hidden? Do you think you would have broken things
100%
off?
I would have broken things off.
100%
100% I would have broken things off. Because to quote in Living Color, Homie, don't play that.
Homie, don't boy.
You're
but-
a better person than me,
But
Mike.
like there was this weird thing of like she drove me to the airport once and she was just bawling her eyes out. She was crying and crying and crying. She was like, I don't think I can see you anymore. And I'm like, hang on a second. You're dropping me off at the airport and you're just like cutting me off. We have to talk about this. And she like, I got on the plane and I was freaking out. So I was texting my best friend in flight. And he didn't offer any, like he didn't know what to do about it. And she just cut me off. She didn't respond to texts, didn't pick up the phone anymore, just complete cold turkey. And I'm like, what the fuck happened?
So how did you find out then?
3 months later, she announced her engagement to some dude on social media. And I was like, oh. Yeah.
So you made me feel really icky.
I got real angry after that.
Yeah. See, my situation was not. I knew that I was hidden, and that experience is one of the reasons why it was so difficult for me to be hidden in my relationship with Lee is the name that I use for the Malaysian ex that I keep talking about, because he was very much saying the kinds of things that your ex that you were just talking about, Mike, was doing with like being cagey about not wanting people to know and that sort of thing and not sharing that kind of thing. So we hid our relationship in front of people. Like Zach didn't find out that he and I had been a thing until I was chatting to Zach about when we had our live stream about baby reindeer. And Zach knows both of us. So like that's how long it had been hidden for. Like nobody knew. And we had a lot, like we were in the same community. It was easy to hide because we could pretend that we were just friends and stuff. But it was such a challenge for me because it felt like, I'm like, you're fucking single. What is the big deal? It's not like my past experience where this guy is cheating. And that's an understandable reason to have to hide because, you know, you don't want to deal with that. You know, you don't, you have a reason to not want people to find out. That makes sense to me, at least. And yeah. And so that's a big part of what's like, so yeah, I can't do any of that. The secrecy is such a difficult thing for me. I tie it up with shame. Like if somebody wants to hide me, then it makes me feel like they're ashamed of me or they're ashamed of their relationship with me. They don't want people to know about me because I'm shameful. Like for people to know about us being together, it makes me feel like they think that people would judge them because I'm a terrible person or something like that. Like that's kind of what goes along with it. If you're hiding it without a seemingly legitimate reason, like you're having an affair.
This all kind of becomes more of a systemic issue as well, where like men get to sleep with whoever they want and it's cool, and women have to be monogamous. And it's
yeah, they do.
Honestly, I think that was one of my like struggles with finding partners in Malaysia when I was polyamorous. Was like just a lot of the Malaysian guys were not cool with the fact that my husband was fine with me sleeping with them. They would have been more okay with me sleeping with them if my husband did not know, right? They would have been fine with me cheating on my husband, but they weren't. No, serious. I definitely had conversations like that with Malaysian guys. They're like,
were they comedians too?
Some of them might have been.
How many are we talking about here, Dominica?
I am not going to go into detail about who else was attracted to me at all. Like, I'm not.
How many cast members of The Office have you slept with?
Can you give us a round number?
I'm not gonna number anything. Hey, look, my dad is watching and he's left some comments.
Oh, hi, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Moving on, let's move away from this. My dad says, I seem to come in at awkward times. The nuns would react whenever we used admire for anything but God. Puts other things as higher status with God. An old memory.
Aww.
Awkward times indeed, Frank.
Look, this whole live stream is about having awkward discussions and discussing topics that most people would not talk about in public.
Sure.
So it's so. I still find it interesting that my dad is totally comfortable having listening to some of my sexual history. But, it is what it is. I think we do have another viewer in the chat. If you are a new viewer or like a regular viewer, if you'd like to ask us any questions related to attachment versus connection or either or topics or anything in general, feel free to drop us a question in the chat. As soon as I acknowledge them, they disappear. Unless the person who disappeared is my dad. No, my dad is still here. That's what happens. They don't want to be known to be watching. My dad says that he's laughing. There you go.
Did he say that he is laughing or that he is mourning laughing? Pull it back up again.
Yeah.
See,
the AM laughing.
Right
it
there.
Could be. It is. No, it's after 12 o'clock in Perth right now, so he can't be morning laughing. It must be M laughing. He is laughing.
How many time zones are in Australia?
So we have Western Australian time zone, which is the same time zone as Malaysia. Makes it very easy to know. There is the South Australia time zone, which can adjust for daylight savings. Non-daylight savings time, it's the same time zone as Northern Territory. During daylight savings, it's different because Northern Territory does not do daylight savings. Same with Queensland. Queensland is consistently always on Eastern Standard Time, does not have daylight savings, versus Victoria and New South Wales and the ACT and does Tasmania have daylight savings? I think they probably do. And so they,
time zones?
Yeah, I don't know, something like that.
That's wild.
Yeah, the country is like the same like landmass size as the United States, approximately. I think.
How did I never know this?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like it'd take you just as long to fly across the country of Australia as it would to fly across the country of the US.
All right, D, I got to make a move.
No worries. Good to have you join us, Zach.
Yeah.
Glad you had. You didn't tell us about Melbourne and Sydney, but I'm sure you had a great time. We will chat later.
All right.
About other stuff because I have other things I want to talk to you about that are non-streaming topics.
As long as it's not about comedians.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But Zach's jealous that, that I've had multiple other Malaysian comedians express interest in me. I'm making a joke, but I don't know if I'm actually serious.
How has there never been a reality dating show about like comedians like vying for each other's physical attention?
It sounds like it could end up very depressing. I don't know.
I think it's like one of those like what? It's a circle jerk for comedians. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like,
whose bit can top the other bit? Oh my god, I'm so impressed by your bit.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah.
Your bits are so offensive.
Mhm. Excuse me, your bits are showing.
Can I
can't
touch your
joke about
bits?
that. You can't bit about that.
Look, I had a joke that I completely forgot about until one of there's a UK comedian who is now living in KL, but he was living in Japan when I met him, and
Peter?
I remember, Peter. Anyway,
Peter?
yes, Peter. And so he had come out and seen me do stand-up comedy in Malaysia back when I lived there, and like years later he referenced this joke, and it was like I had these chocolates that were only available in certain countries in Asia. The chocolates were called nips, and to me nips are short for nipples. So what I did with it is like
these things
genuinely and so the chocolates were kind of like M&Ms but like more bowl shaped and like nipples.
These things.
So I took these chocolates, like I had one of each, like two. I took two of them, put them down my bra, and like, like I had a joke where I like showed the packet of nips and like would take one out of my bra and eat.
Well done.
And look, I still have some nips in my drawer. I'm sure they're terrible and would not eat them now. The fact that this is from like 11 years ago at this point. It's still there.
Dominica, throw them out.
Throw them
out. But yeah, dude.
The reason I have them is just for the memory reference of that joke.
It's 11 with them.
Yeah, it's chocolate. It's not whiskey. Okay, I think at this point it's time to say goodbye.
Obviously, I'm not going to eat it.
Well, don't put it anywhere else then. It's been there for 11 years. So
yeah.
Unless you need a chocolate suppository. Otherwise,
spicy.
Maybe we do need that. Anyway, Zach, you were heading off.
All right.
Yeah, me too. I've got to go as well.
Much. We only had one other comment from my dad anyway, who was just saying that Western Australia's daylight savings has stopped because it wasn't popular, and I was aware of that, which is why I didn't mention daylight savings for Western Australia. All right, we'll end the stream there. Oh, look, it's like 2 hours. That's how long that we to do these streams for. Anyway, wrapping it up at just the right time. If you watch this after the fact and you're still enjoying it, hey, and you're not subscribed, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Find out where we're going live next. We do this every week. Hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.